Yay, welcome to All the Things. I am Monique Duson.
And I'm Krista Bontrager, also known as Theology Mom. And welcome to the season 4 season finale
I can't
of
believe
All the Things.
We've been doing this for 4 seasons. What's that? That's 4 years.
Yeah, so we started 2019. We endured the pandemic in 2020. 2021 was 2022.
Y'all, we've been here a while.
I bamboozled her pretty good, huh?
She really did. She really did. If you guys go back to like our older shows, I just sat there and was just like, why are we here again? Can you remind me why we're doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your PTSD was still a little bad. Might not have been the most equal bamboozle.
It was just I did not like it at all. I was like, what are we doing? But now look
at
I can't
us.
imagine not being here on a Saturday night with all of you guys. Make sure if you are watching, and I'm assuming you're watching because, you know, there are people there, that you share the show. Let us know where you are watching from, who you're watching with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And since we are live, we want to say thank you to our moderator tonight, the lovely and gracious Elaine Voss.
Yay.
One of my Dutch tribe people.
Well, there you go. There you go. You just coming with them quick tonight. Look at you.
Well,
right.
and also helping us tonight and every night, the one and only, I can't really call you lovely and gracious, but I'll call you handsome,
No?
Bob Bontrager. And he's
Great.
sporting his March for the Martyrs.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Our daughter Emily is there.
Yep.
the march.
She helped organize the conference or the march. Today's the march in Washington, D.C. They had a little write-up about them on Fox News
Do you
yesterday.
see the picture of her?
No.
Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at it.
My mother said that March for the Martyrs was also on the 700 Club
Oh yeah,
because that's where my mother gets the news.
she's right there. That's
Oh, that's her
forehead.
little head.
That's
That
her
is.
forehead right there. Actually, this is from last year, but
Yes,
that's so. If you see her forehead,
that's her.
that's her.
She's a little short like me. And that's her boss on the left is Gia Chacon. She's the founder. So
Awesome.
very cool. Now, somebody says in the YouTube chat that they like it, that they have the same laptop case that you do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, since we're talking about it, this
Must
is
we talk
my
about it?
phone case, and I actually have one for my iPad too. It's all the same. It's literally all the same. Yes. Whoever I don't know who said it, but yes.
Anne Marie.
We are twins. Yes.
All right. Jermaine's checking in from Atlanta.
We'll be there when? On the 4th.
About 10 days.
Yes, on
Yes.
the 4th.
So, yeah. So obviously our guests didn't work out for tonight. So it's just us.
Oh, Rachel says that she will be missing the family meetings on Thursdays. I think we're still doing the family meetings. We'll hop on. We're not
Yeah.
just going to leave you in the lurch completely.
Yeah.
We'll still be there. Off code will still be there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. We'll still do family meetings. We just didn't do one this week because we are hard against some deadlines and we couldn't do it this week, but kind of have a family meeting-ish show planned for tonight.
Yeah.
And when we get back from our East Coast trip, we'll definitely do some family meetings in October and November.
Yeah.
So, all right, Tiana. No, so let's address this thing. We got people saying, "Can you come here? Can you come here?" All right,
I want to. I will go anywhere.
we will go anywhere where we're invited. So if you want to organize an event, you want to get with your pastor, you want to get with your school, bring us out, do that. But we don't ask to come places. We have to be invited.
Yeah.
But we would like to go to North Carolina.
We would. I'm actually wearing a shirt from a ministry in North Carolina that was sent to me from Brandon Rhodes and his wife Caroline, and it's True North Ministries.
All right.
And so, yes, I wanted to give them a shout out since I have on their shirt and I love this blue.
It's a good blue for you.
It is. It is. I actually had earrings that I was going to wear that was the same color, but I forgot them. So there's that. I feel kind of, not all the way complete. Hi, Monique. Was halfway through your Ratio Christie interview and switched over to this live chat. Thanks for your testimony. Well done with Ratio Christie. Thanks, Uncle Jeff. I try. Okay, so let's get this show on the road.
Yes. Okay, so we got.
I have to cough. I am so sorry.
All right. We don't have
My allergies are bad.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been struggling too. Today's been better for me, but I've been having to take a lot of remedies. Okay, so
We need an intervention.
mind. So we entitled the show "Help Wanted" because some of the things we're going to talk about tonight are some areas that we need help in, and we want to talk about those issues. Some of them are topics, some of them are areas of expertise, a lot of different things. Plus, we've got a lot of things that have been in the news that we're going to comment on, and I'm going to surprise Monique with some things in the news that she hasn't seen, and she loves surprises. So we're going to surprise her with some takes on various things.
I absolutely do not like surprises. The devil is a whole lie. So we'll see what happens. She might be surprised by my surprise. And then we all gonna be surprised.
We're all going to be surprised today.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
So the first thing we want to help.
Let's talk about some of the things we want help with.
Yes.
Okay, so you might have noticed there's certain topics that we don't actually talk about. Like, we're pretty fearless in talking about a lot of different topics, but there's certain topics that we haven't yet covered in 4 seasons of all the things because we don't have an expert.
Remember when we didn't talk about LGBTQ plus stuff
For a long time.
for a long time?
People might not have noticed that, but it took us a couple years before we did a show on that because
You didn't know where you stood, and that's okay. I mean, sometimes you just have to be patient. And it took a while, but you came around, and praise God. Won't he do it? Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, so there was issues related to pro-choice when Monique was in her own process on that. We didn't do shows about law enforcement right away because that was still something she was thinking through. So there's a few topics that we would really like to talk about and talk to people about, but we just haven't been able to find experts. So a couple weeks ago on the show, I just offhandedly mentioned a topic that I needed help with when we were talking to Elisa Childers.
Yeah.
And I had a guy reach out to me the next day and sent me some extremely helpful stuff. Thank you, Michael. And we had a great Zoom call. We're going to have some more calls. He doesn't know it yet, but we will be having more calls. But no, it's super helpful. He stepped up, and I feel like, oh wow, he's a little further down the road on the research of this issue, and was really able to help me and help save me about 100 hours of research. So we would love to, we're going to mention a few other topics that we're struggling with finding experts. Maybe you know someone, maybe you are that someone. And you might want to step up and help us out. Send us an email at the email address on the screen there, attlivestream@gmail.com. Okay, what's the first one?
The first one is sentencing.
Okay, so talk to us about that. What is sentencing?
Well, okay. Well, the topic itself is how are people sentenced when they commit a crime and are found guilty and now they need to be sentenced. I've always questioned, like, I wonder, when I was in CRT, I just automatically knew white people got off, quicker than black people. But now that I've done some study and research into it and things like that, I know that much more goes into it than that.
It's complicated.
It is complicated. And I'm just wondering, how does sentencing work? And how do different states keep things just so that, the poor aren't being sentenced to longer terms than the rich. And so, yeah, what are the
variables that go into determining sentencing, and how does it vary from jurisdictions and statewide versus federal? How does all that work? If you are a person who knows about this,
or if you know somebody, maybe it's your brother-in-law,
get us connected, because the conversation about sentencing is a big discussion in the wider justice conversation, but we haven't wanted to comment on it just by reading news articles or that sort of thing. We always try to talk to a few experts before we go on the air with something and a new topic. And that's what we really need. Is we know that this is an important issue. We think that there's some important things to talk about with regard to sentencing, but we don't want to just go off the top of our heads or go off of popular level news articles. We really want to talk to some people who are experts in this issue, who are Christians or maybe who are open to a Christian point of view, and help us understand, more about this issue. So that's one area we really need help with.
Yeah, we are definitely for justice. And so if there's the possibility of something being unjust,
right?
How do we, and we say it all the time, how do we use our voice, our vote, and our dollar to be able to speak into that area? There are definitely disparities in sentencing, for sure. Like, that's just statistically true. We see that. But that doesn't mean that just because there's disparities that what's happening is unjust. I don't hold the position that every disparity is some kind of injustice.
Yeah.
We need to do research and make sure, that we're doing our due diligence to understand, like, yeah, there is a disparity here. And it's because of X, Y, and Z. The X, Y, and Z, though, doesn't have to necessarily be an injustice. It could just be the way certain people groups choose to participate within society. And that creates a disparity. I'm not of the camp, like I said, that every disparity automatically equals an injustice, but we would love to have that conversation. I would love to have that conversation personally.
We really want to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think along those lines, are you ready for the next one? Along those lines is bail and the cash bail system. And there's a lot of conversation right now happening regarding bail and who gets bond posted and how much. And, are you... if you commit a crime, is your crime even bail worthy at all, or are you just detained and then released?
Yeah.
We see this with the Illinois situation.
Well, there was that situation just this week in North Dakota where a guy did some kind of hit and run or vehicular manslaughter with toward a young teenager who was a Republican, and he believed that this guy was calling for some kind of mob to come after him. So he ran the kid over. And then he was let out on $50,000 bail. And
which I think you only pay 10% of that.
Yeah.
So it's like $5,000.
Yeah. And so then it's like, well, how does that work exactly? Like, how is bail determined is a big question we have. And there's so much call in the justice space for the elimination of cash bail.
Which actually I believe was started by Angela Davis way back in the day.
So we need to give a little context here because this is something that was completely new for me.
Yeah.
So Angela Davis studied with Marcuse, and, he is a very famous...
critical thinking, critical theorist.
Critical theorist. And Angela Davis... You can go on YouTube and look up Angela Davis. I mean, she's got YouTube videos going back to the 70s. And one of her things was she studied under Marcuse, but she also
ran
has
for like the vice president of the Communist Party.
Yeah, she's a communist.
Yeah. She has a criminal record for sure.
She went to prison.
Yeah, and I'm not completely like solid on all that happened with that, so I'm not gonna go down that road. But she does have like a huge past. Like Angela Davis, everybody should know about Angela Davis.
So one of her things, and has been from the 70s, has been the elimination of prisons. And
defunding the police.
So these are not new ideas.
Yeah.
If you start doing some history, you'll understand that many of these ideas that are now being put forward as justice issues go back to people like Angela Davis and have been around for decades. And this whole, like, the elimination of cash bail. Now, explain to us why cash bail is a justice issue. Like, that was so new for me. And it was like, okay, I don't have any idea what to think about this. So help us understand that.
Well, I see it as potentially a justice issue because let's say someone gets picked up for a crime and they're completely innocent, but the judge sets their bail at $1 million. They don't have that kind of money. You pay 10% of that. What's that? $100,000. They don't have that kind of money, and now they're sitting in jail sometime for months until
a year or more,
or a year or more until their case comes up on the docket and it's time for them to go before the judge. So now they're just sitting there as an innocent person, just detained. But you can also have a person who commits a crime, like this guy in North Dakota commits a crime,
admits that
he committed the crime.
Yeah.
Like
we read the police report today, and he admitted it. So it's not like it's to be determined. The facts need to come forward. I read the police report. Mm-hmm. He admitted he ran the teenager down because he was a Republican, and he was fearing that this young man, this 19-year-old, was calling his friends, and so he decided to run the guy over, which kind of sounds like premeditation, but
and that's a whole other story. Yeah. We're not going to go down that road. But this person is innocent, but is guilty, but has the money to get out. So it to me, it makes me wonder, how are we treating the rich and the poor in these kind of situations? Because the poor, innocent or guilty, have to sit. And I'm not necessarily concerned with the guilty, but the innocent really have to sit and just, at times, if they have a high bail, or even if it's not a high bail and they just can't afford it, they can't get bonds, now they have to wait, for a long time in order for them to get out. And I just really want to know, how do we do this in a way that's just, where the rich aren't able to, just here's my $10,000, here's my $100,000, and now I can go and walk around and be free and be with my family and things like that because I have the means to do that, even though I'm guilty. I think the problem with this situation, though, is that to eliminate bail or to eliminate detention is to say, well, you're guilty, and so, or your crimes don't meet the highest standards, so you're just going to get to go out and be free. And what we've seen recently is people, reoffending. That's the word that I'm looking for. They reoffend, and they reoffend immediately because they weren't held or detained, for a good enough amount of time to be able to.
Which seems like it presents its own injustice toward future victims. And then there's this whole bill that's coming up in the state of Illinois where they're going to redefine who is able to get out more quickly. And I think it's called the Safe T
law.
Mm-hmm. Law. And it was voted on in 2020, but it's about to go into effect. And it's going to recategorize things so that you can commit some
significant
crimes and get out fairly easily. Mm-hmm. And this is the future. And this is the future that people like Angela Davis and other justice-oriented people in that vein are advocating for. But we haven't taken official position on the whole bail situation because we just don't know anything about it. We only know what we see in the news. We've watched some, Angela Davis videos where we're trying to understand it as best we can, but we really need help. So if you know someone who really knows about the bail issue, has given careful Christian reflective thought on the pros and cons of the cash bail system from a biblical point of view, please email us. Please tell us who they are, because we could really use some help. And again, we don't want to just go off popular level articles. We don't want to go off our own opinions because we're not attorneys. We don't know that. But we really want to have those conversations. We want to get more educated. We have no official position at this point. We're wide open. We just would like.
We need to be more informed.
We need to be more informed.
Elaine says this isn't bail related precisely, but a swifter moving justice system might help people connect quick, proportional justice for wrongdoing and give some thought before committing crime. I agree with that too. One of the things that another thing we didn't even talk about this, said I could potentially want to talk to someone about is the privatization of jails and prisons. The privatization of prisons, and how are prisons making money? And if the prison system is a money making system, well, let's just think about that for a minute. What does it mean to have your prison system be a money making system? And when prisons are privatized,
what are the pros and cons?
What are the pros and cons? Thank you.
Yeah. So if you know someone who knows about that, let us know.
Diamond Lace says it should be called the Purge Law, the safety law. And a lot of people are calling it the Purge Law.
Yeah.
And the Purge, I didn't see the movie, but I was like, why is everybody calling it the Purge? I guess the Purge was a movie where like one day it was legal to do like all kind of heinous crimes in this movie.
Was this like a horror movie?
I guess. I have no idea. But it was like they had one day.
Oh, my. Okay, let's put a bookmark there. We're going to come back. We've got a couple more things that we need help with. I really want to do a couple of quick takes on some things in the news.
Okay.
So
this is us tonight, huh? We just going for it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I got big plans.
Okay. Hi, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So, all right. First, I'm going to do a tweet from Bob. It says Taylor Advocate. Do you see that one? Okay. So I saw this on Twitter this week, and I would love to get people's opinions about it. So this isn't necessarily for you, but you can respond to it too.
I'm glad. I'll be here all week, I guess.
So there it is. So this gal, I don't know who she is. I don't know if she's a Christian. I don't know nothing about her. I'm just looking at the tweet. Okay. And please don't go dox her or anything. Just look at the tweet. All right. I've deleted all my 13-year-old daughter's social media to help her out of the cult, meaning the gender cult. She's not happy with me at the moment. She likely won't realize for a few more years that I'm literally saving her life right now. She will grow up intact if it's the last thing I do. So that's the tweet. So there's been a few of these that I've seen lately along these lines, that this is a strategy that some parents are using when they start noticing their kid kind of going down the gender confusion path, is taking away their mobile device, deleting all their social media, and getting them back in the real world. I'm just curious what people think about this. What are your thoughts about this strategy?
I mean, I guess you can call it a strategy. Sure.
It's a strategy.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think, being able to limit your child's social media access is a good thing anyway, because there's not a lot of stuff on social media that's helpful. Present company excluded. But, like for a
13-year-olds are watching this right now.
For a 13-year-old, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on Snap, they're on, like, the things that they're on is a lot of quick information, not a lot of context, pictures, pop-ups, and they're getting hit really quickly. And then it's like you combine that with the desire to fit in at school and whatever's happening at school and things like that, it's a disaster for a catastrophe.
So there's so much research on, especially with teen girls, that one of the key issues with increased anxiety and depression is because of the amount of time that they spend on social media. So I'm of the unpopular opinion that, I am not a fan. I'm just going to say this, because I've been so afraid to say this. This is the thing I'm afraid of.
Oh.
Of talking about.
Oh, you just step into that, girl. Do it.
I'm so afraid. As a parent with recently grown children, I am going to talk to parents right now. Stop giving your children mobile devices. Just stop it. Stop letting them be on social media. I don't care. I know you guys all write to me and you say, well, my kid's different. My kid has discernment. Just stop. It's like giving your kid a loaded gun and expecting them to, how to discern the complex. You and I, as adults, can hardly discern the complexities of the world that we're in. Mm-hmm. And we really seriously think that we're going to have a few conversations with our kids, at 13 when their hormones are crazy. I mean, does anyone remember being 13? It's hard in and of itself. And then you're going to give them this thing where the whole world is distorted in here, and you got like the demon realm in the social in the device, and you think that a 13-year-old is going to be able to sort all that out. I guess I might. The one thing, if I could sit across from at coffee with every Christian parent who follows me, the one thing I would want to tell them is get your kids off social media, throw away their phones, let them live in the real world until their brains finish developing. And if they want to go buy a phone with their own money when they're 18 or out on their own, paying their own bills, doing their own thing, that's their decision. But until then, help them have hobbies. Force them to have hobbies. They cannot emotionally grow and properly develop with the demon thing in the phone. Like, and if you want to watch videos together that you as a parent find, and you want to put them on your big screen, you want to watch, our friend Melissa Doherty videos or whatever, great, go for it. But really, like, I can't take the letters that you guys write to me. And you're like, my kid's addicted to porn. Well, they had the phone since they were 12. And the letters that you send to me of like, my kid is deconstructing, my kid is falling into the gender cult. Yeah, but you gave them the phone. And so it's like, please help.
And not just the phone.
No, but
there's a lot.
It's the number one pipeline into influencing the kid. Yeah,
I think the phone, but I also think just the realm of social media overall, like that access, it is such a gateway to so many other issues.
So along those lines, we're going to be, while we're off on hiatus, we're going to be replaying some shows from our archive from a few years ago that really only like 35 people have seen because those when we first started out. But my old college friend, Arlene Pelicane, who's written a couple books on screens and teens, was one of the shows that we're going to replay. Yeah. And I really hope you won't miss it because she offers some amazing wisdom about this issue. And as you can tell, like, it's a little bit of an emotional issue for me for personal reasons, but it's just like, this is the number one thing that if I could sit down with a Christian parent and just beg them, please just do not do this. Do not, it's this tough issue. So, and yeah, Elaine says on Facebook, just get used, your kids just got to get used to the idea of being weird. It's just, it is. The kid will pressure you. They'll beg. They'll pout. But you've got to be stronger than that. You've got to be bigger than that. Help them find a hobby. Do something together. Go on family vacations. Go camping. Take them to museums. Do something. But, yeah.
But then also explain to your kid why. Yeah. Like, why don't we allow this in our home? Have those conversations so that it doesn't. And I'm just also reading Kelly's comments. Kelly Ama Il Calcio, need to explain why it's being taken away and the harm it causes, because otherwise, like, a vacuum could be created. And I agree with that. Like, kids can understand why we're not doing something. They may not like it, but they can understand. And, just understanding how your family is wanting to shape their soul at this age, and what that means for them in the long term, in the future. So I do agree.
Okay, so there is that. All right, now something for you.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, here we go.
Bob, will you play that little short video? So we've been getting a lot of questions, people writing to the ministry with this question. We're going to listen to someone else comment on it, and then I want to get your take on it.
Okay.
All right, here it is. Yeah.
If I felt super strongly about that, I might need to get my head checked a little bit. But Disney has all the power in the world to create a Black character. And
so they're talking about the Little
I know
Mermaid,
a lot of people talk about representation and how important it is, and it is a very cute thing. But think about how much of a privileged position we are in to be talking about the representation of people in Hollywood and in cartoon characters and in Disney movies. I get that it's important, but we can also teach our kids that even though you don't see somebody who looks exactly like you, doesn't mean you can't be that thing. Doesn't mean you can't achieve. And that's a lesson we should be teaching. I don't have a particularly strong opinion on The Little Mermaid in particular. I think if we're
that's good.
That's
because you're normal.
If I felt super strongly about that.
All right, go ahead. So the Little Mermaid, we've gotten some questions about it. That is, I think her name is Amalia or Amala. She's at PragerU.
Oh, her. Yeah.
So I think she's like maybe
She's Nigerian and black.
half Nigerian.
I mean, Nigerian and white. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like 21 or 22. She was on the Megyn Kelly recently, and I thought it was a good little short clip on because I thought, oh, that's interesting. Like she's saying, yeah, I can understand representation of wanting the Black Little Mermaid, but it's also kind of a privileged conversation in that, you know,
we're arguing about a fictional character.
Yeah.
What ethnicity a fictional character should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little petty.
It is. It's petty for real. And I've seen people argue on both sides. White people are like, she ain't black. She should have never been black. Black people are like, finally. And the white people, da 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 da. And I'm just like, really? We're arguing over a fictional character? Like, it doesn't matter if she was purple because she's not real. She's a mermaid. Mermaids don't exist. I know that could be a hard, call for some people, but they're not. Now, do I believe that representation matters? I do. I really do. I think that having the opportunity to see someone like yourself matters, even if it's not the end all be all. And I do agree with Amala, I believe it's Amala, that, you can still raise your child to understand that, hey, even though you don't see anybody like you, it might be nice to see somebody like you in this field or doing what you do, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it. I'm leading a book group and we have 2 women who they're a little older and they're engineers. And they said that, in the maybe 70s when they were in college and going through their program in engineering, they were the only women. And they were like, I would have loved to see somebody else like me. And I wouldn't let that stop me. That's exactly what it is. It's nice. It's nice to know, like, oh, look, there's somebody like I can aspire to do that too. Somebody else went before me and they did it. Great. But if not, then I'm gonna have to pave the way.
I think it's a little bit like, we would love to see Christians get excited when we see a big name in Hollywood who's a Christian. That's for us representation of sorts. And yet we have to teach our children to kind of make their own way.
Yeah.
That we don't do that because of representation. When I was in seminary, I'm pretty sure I was the only woman in my theology program. I was the only woman in several of my classes. Sometimes women would come in from the philosophy program or other programs into the classes. But there was literally nobody that I could look to other than maybe, and I think I mentioned this before, Gretchen Passantino, who was a local woman apologist in Southern California. We had her brother on a while back, Cal Beisner. And she was really like the first theologically conservative woman kind of theologian apologist that I had ever was aware of, or like, oh, wow, it could be a thing. Maybe I could do this too.
Yeah.
So it helped, but it didn't like keep me in seminary. I mean, I was going to finish my program. What was more important was having my husband cheer me on days when I would come home crying, or my friend Ken Samples cheering me on.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have said, there's no representation here, I can't do this because I don't see anybody like myself, where would women in apologetics be? You know what I mean? Like, now there's a whole community of people just like y'all. Look at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, I believe the representation is important. I do. I believe that it matters.
Yeah.
And will it stop me? Well, should it stop you? No.
And we want to raise our kids that are resilient enough that if they want to go into a certain field, somebody's got to be the trailblazer.
Yeah.
So, but I think also, I think that we also have bigger fish to fry, because we got kids like cutting off their organs. I'm not terribly concerned about whether or not there's a black mermaid and Disney's doing woke things. We already know they're woke. We already know. I don't really care about the black fish. I'm worried about kids cutting off their organs.
Yeah. Helen says, I think there are bigger fish to fry regarding Disney. Yes.
I agree.
Yes. Disney's demonic. Like, can we just, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that publicly, but these are my inner thoughts that just kind of slipped out into the open, world. But the way that they are
their
wanting
application of witchcraft is demonic.
And the way that they want to lead your kids that's a problem. Like, let's just be honest. If we're just going to, have a little family meeting right here. But how many Christians give them their money every day?
Yeah.
That's what's scary to me.
It bugs you.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Like I won't go down that rabbit trail. I've been down there on this show before. But yes.
Okay. All right, let's go back to our help wanted.
Okay.
So we talked about sentencing, cash bail.
Yeah.
So what is another area that we really need help with?
Ooh, child studies.
All right, let's talk about that.
So child studies is a branch of the critical social theories, and it just looks at children as being an oppressed category. And I have done quite a bit of reading on child studies and what that looks like in the future and things like that. But I am not an expert in child studies. Read some first sources. Still, like, there's so much to talk about and to dig into and to understand what does it mean to be an ally for a child. So I would love to have a conversation with someone about that, because it impacts so many things. It impacts homeschooling. It impacts, just education overall. If a child is considered an oppressed person and parents and adults are considered the oppressors, how do we then, raise children? Or does it become a thing where the state can easily step in to become that middle person or the guardian of your child? There's a law, not a law, it's a bill right now that's before the California governor, and it's SB 107. And it is a law. If he signs it by the 30th, then that would make California a sanctuary state for LGBTQ plus youth who are fleeing their state where,
Fleeing their parents.
Well, fleeing their parents because their state has given their parents jurisdiction and saying, your parents have the final say. So a child can flee from their parents and would be able to come to California.
So if the parent doesn't affirm their gender confusion.
Yes, they can flee and come here. And
then California will pay for all of their mental health and whatever medical treatments they want. And
that's and when I, skimmed through the bill, that's what it looked like. It looked like the state would step in as a temporary guardian to be able to protect the kids who are fleeing from, their parents or from their state, to be able to find treatment. Even if their parents were in agreement, they could then send them to California. But this bill also protects parents who are in agreement and wanting their children to participate in either hormone therapy or transitions and, things like that. And where in their state, they may come up on some kind of charge, for either child endangerment or, whatever that state's rules or regulations would be. The parents can also flee to California. And, I'm not really sure what all would entail for the parent to come here. I'm not sure if they get hotel vouchers to, stay for a while. I'm not sure. I don't know all of that. But it does make me wonder, if this bill passes, does that then set a precedent that the state can, just easily say, hey, look, we can take your kid.
Yeah.
We'll make these decisions for you because parents are unsafe. Parents are traumatic. Parents are triggering. These are a lot of the words that we hear with race. And one of the reasons why when we first started talking about race, we said, hey, be careful in how you use a lot of this terminology, because you're going to see it pop up in other theories. Well, child theory is one of those theories where it's very concerning to know that, when we talk about trauma and traumatic events, that, a parent can just be traumatic, an adult can be traumatic simply because of their presence.
Yeah. So again, this is the issue. The help that we need is somebody who has done more research on child studies. Sometimes it's called critical child studies. Sometimes it's called critical education studies. It goes by different names. But looking at children's rights according to not the Katie Faust definition, but more of like along the UN lines of things. But, if you know someone or you are someone, please write to us because, really what we're trying to do here at the Center for Biblical Unity is we don't want to just have a conversation about race. Like, race is one of a suite of the critical social theories. It's usually the one that people get introduced to first. But this is why we've been doing content this season on queer theory, This is why we need some help with critical child studies. We've covered it a couple of times on the family meetings. And we want CFBU to be the go-to place for people who are running into any of the critical social theories where they can find a biblical perspective about these things. So, in order to do that, we can lead that charge, but we're going to need more people. And we have our academic advisory council. They have different areas of expertise, but we're looking to, continue to link arms with people who are engaged at the academic level on the research. So if you know somebody, or you are somebody who knows some things about this area, please reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah.
Bob, I'm going to give you a minute to pull up two things. One is I just sent you a link on Facebook Messenger that kind of dovetails with this conversation. And then after that, we will go to Impact 360 and you can cue that up and then we'll come back for the second half of the show.
Elaine said, what is the state going to do in a decade with a lot of damaged 25-year-olds? That's a really good question.
That's the question we were just talking about today. Because what's the church going to do?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yes.
What are we doing right now to train biblical-oriented therapists to deal with the damage that we're going to have in 5 to 10 years with all of these young people? How will we mobilize resources as Christians to bring the gospel to these people?
Maris says the state will do what they normally do when it is convenient for the state. They will ditch all those damaged human beings.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is where it'll be important for the church to step in. So I want to let people know, while we're on the topic of critical child studies and gender issues, to if you're on Twitter, a great voice to follow, who I tried to get for tonight's show, but she just wasn't available, but we will have her on a future show, is a friend of ours, Kelly Ski. You can follow her at Kelly Ski. Bob's got a tweet that we're going to show from her so you can see her handle. So if you want to follow another good voice, I've been really appreciating the deep dive that she has been doing related to child study issues as it pertains to education, comprehensive sexuality education. She's researching like crazy the international Planned Parenthood, and they seem to really be the ones leading the charge of redefining sexuality. But I thought this graph was interesting that she posted earlier today. It's the stairs of tolerance, and they go in two different directions. And when we think about this, I think this is where Christians get trapped. The first step is tolerance, which is something that we can kind of agree with, across the board, that tolerating different views is a noble thing, that we don't force people to believe something through coercion.
Yeah.
But then depending on which way you go on these stairs, you arrive at very different outcomes. So you have the number 2 position is acceptance versus dislike. Respect versus prejudice is at the 3rd position. The next step is the 4th position, mutual understanding versus discrimination and stigma. Finally, you arrive at either a celebration of diversity or hate and violence. And if you think about this is the language that's being used in this conversation.
Yes.
About, things like trans youth, taking away parent rights, that parents are seeing, according to the state of California, in the sexuality health guidelines, they introduced the concept that it is spiritual abuse if your parents will not affirm your gender identity. This is hate and violence. This is discrimination. This is when words really matter. And the cultural pressure to go down the path of tolerance, acceptance, respect, mutual understanding, celebration of diversity. How many people do we talk to that use the term, I want to celebrate diversity, without, pastors, Christian college
without
presidents,
understanding what they're saying.
They don't understand that they're adopting this language from the culture. So go follow our friend Kelly Ski. She's at Kelly Ski on Twitter. She's doing a great job of researching these issues and providing very valuable information through primary sources.
Mel on YouTube says, the stairs of tolerance seem rather binary to me, lacking nuance. Ironically, yes. And that's exactly what it is, because once they can pin you into the language, then you're there. Then it's like, yes, well, if you don't accept me, then you're being, blank. And it's such a non-nuanced conversation that you just get stuck in this lane, and you're either for me or against me. And if you're against me, then you're doing, hatred and violence. And there's really no room for a person who does not affirm the social theories to even be a person to a degree.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we're going to go out and hear from our friends at Impact 360. Don't go anywhere. We still have a lot of show left. I've got a couple more surprises for Monique. We're going to tell you about another area where we need help, as well as some volunteer positions where we really could use your help. Your skill set might really help us in the new year. So stay
please.
Tuned. Change isn't going to come just because you want it to. Change comes because you are intentionally taking steps to making that change.
I aspire to be someone who continues to build bridges with other cultures and who cultivates a community that's healthy and honoring to the Lord and life-giving.
Now, after the program, I feel like I know what my purpose is and I know what I want to do going out into the world. And had I not had this time to step back and just kind of be patient and be still and just listen, I don't think I would have had that same clarity.
In this world, it's kind of like in a scream contest. Who can scream the loudest and who's going to listen to that person yelling the loudest? And that person should be God, but he's not yelling, he's calling us. My hope going forward to interact with culture is to tell people like, hey, be still, listen to this guy, he's calling you home.
Very good. Once again, those are our friends at Impact 360. We're going to be there in just a few days.
Yeah. And if you have a young person in your life who you think would benefit from worldview training, they can do either a week, 2 weeks, or a 9-month gap year. Go to impact360.org and you can fill out the application. I believe you can use the promo code, all the things, and have your application fee waived.
Yeah, and that also helps them know that they're spending their dollars to help us out in sponsoring the show, that it's good for them, and they know that you came through our recommendation, and helps them know that they're being good stewards of their resources. Let's talk a little bit. We talked for a minute about some of the replays we're going to be doing while we're on hiatus. We talked about the one with Arlene Pelicane. We're going to be doing another replay with our friend, Dr. Michael Gurney, who we had on in the first year of the show. It was a great episode about the importance of biblical literacy and training pastors.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing a replay on that because there was a big Barna study, and I didn't give this link to Bob, but there was a big Barna study released recently about the biblical literacy of pastors.
Yes.
It's not good news.
No, it wasn't. It was not
low.
Good news at all. It was very low. And, I think going back to this show and really hearing the information of, how do we get pastors to have a biblical worldview? Why is it important? Can be very helpful, especially in this time.
Yeah. So our friend Michael Gurney, he's on our academic advisory council, and he was a professor of philosophy and theology for over 20 years at Multnomah College, which is now Multnomah University.
Yeah.
So you aren't going to want to miss that conversation. One more preview is we're going to be also rerunning our interview with our friend Brian Crane.
Yes.
Who is the director of operations at the Orange County
Rescue
Mission. Now, we talked to him right at the beginning of the pandemic, and you were still working at the
food pantry.
The food pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys talked about some of your experience working in homelessness, his experience in running the rescue mission. he gave a lot of very practical wisdom about the homeless situation. But not many people have seen this show, so we're going to play it back.
I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to our Help Wanted theme here.
All right. I think this is the last one.
Yeah.
CS said he just did an interview with his wife. It was great. Yes. Yeah. Yes, he did. His wife is Natasha Crane.
That's right.
So the last one is Black Liberation Theology.
Yeah.
And I have read Cone, and I've written about Cone, James Cone, who is the founder of Black Liberation Theology. But I could use some more help. I would like to go even deeper into understanding his thought process, his methodology, like what. Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of him giving speeches, and I think I have a pretty good grasp on him, but there are a lot of questions that I also have still. So if you know someone who, is wise or, hip up on Cone, let me know, because I could really use some help.
In particular, looking at some of the nuances of his theology, but also other key voices in Black liberation theology, because Black liberation theology isn't just James Cone.
No.
There are other important voices in that stream, but having a dialogue partner for Monique on those issues, somebody who's really thought about it from a historic Christian framework and able to interact with primary sources and offer some compare and contrast between Black liberation theology and historic Christianity would be extremely valuable, because every single time, it happened to us last week, every time we post about Cone, there are a lot of James Cone apologists in the world.
Yes.
And his voice is becoming increasingly influential in evangelical spaces. Even if the people don't know it's James Cone, where these ideas come from, if you follow the stream back, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to continue to develop that part of the ministry.
And liberation theology overall, not just Black liberation theology, the whole, endeavor of liberation theology, which was started in South America, which has Marxist roots and things like that. Just combing through that would be helpful.
Yeah. So that is another area where we could use some help. And, as much as we like to study, many of the shows that we've brought you have been part of our own education process. And, like I said, whenever we're learning something new, we try to read books, watch videos, talk to experts before we come out with something. Sometimes it takes us like a year of study before we have a show. And you guys don't know that's all the due diligence that we do behind the scenes.
Yeah, because we never want to, one, we don't want to look stupid before people. Like, let's just be honest. But two, we never want to bring information that's incorrect. We never want to lead people down a wrong path or have some kind of, wrong view on something. We definitely want viewers to make up their own mind, but we want to do our best work to put forward the most accurate information.
Yeah. So, okay. You ready for another thing?
Who?
You.
Well, hold on. Let's answer this one. Where can someone find the article on pastors' biblical literacy?
Oh, yeah. If you go to
the Barna study?
Yeah, the Barna study. If you go to, I think it's Arizona Christian University, and you look up Barna, he's attached now to Arizona Christian University. He sold the Barna Group some years ago, so he's not with the Barna Group anymore. But if you go through Arizona Christian University, his research now goes through, I think it's called the Cultural Center or something with them. And he just published another summary of a larger project he's been doing on worldview research. And if you want to know the details of how Barna puts together those surveys, go listen to Natasha Crane's interview with George Barna from last week. Man, that was interesting. I listened to that whole thing. It was over an hour. It was almost an hour and a half. But he really explained in quite a lot of detail
Yes, he did.
How he does his research, how he verifies these things. He takes years to develop these surveys to make sure that he gets statistically valid results and highly nuanced questions and answers. So if you're skeptical about the research, go listen to the podcast with Natasha Crane and George Barna.
It was very informative.
For that. But go to Arizona Christian University to the cultural, I think it's called like the Cultural Center or something.
Or you can Google George Barna and Arizona Christian University.
Elaine's on it. She got the link there in the notes. So
thank you, Elaine.
Yes, very much.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's do the video from the Today Show. Was the next one in the queue?
Are we going to get to the one that I really want?
Yes, we're getting there.
Okay, because I really...
It's coming.
I have thoughts.
It's right after this one. This is the lead into that. Yeah, that one.
So you guys have to see this. Have you heard about this? So this morning, we wanted to show you, I'm trying to change the subject, some amazing baby faces. Look at this. So researchers in Britain wanted to know if babies in the womb
These are babies.
react when the mom ingests a flavor of food.
Look at that clump of cells.
And this is what they saw. Do you want to guess what was on the left? So the left is a baby in its resting state. And then on the right, you see how he smiles 20 minutes? The mom ate some carrots.
On the left, would they?
That was just a resting state.
That was the resting, but he liked the carrots.
She had like a carrot pill.
So were there other foods?
Yes, there were other foods. I'm glad you asked. You want to look at this baby's reaction before? Mom had kale.
Wow.
So here's the thing.
What about if mom had ice cream?
I don't know.
Why would they go? Why would they go with?
Let me
with
explain.
Carrots and vegetables.
So the study's co-author says the images could just show muscle movements when a baby's reacting to maybe a flavor that's bitter. So you shouldn't interpret it whether it's happy or distaste.
No, I think that's how I do. Yeah. Because once they get out of the womb, it's that same look.
Yeah, it's the same look.
That's
Isn't that funny? Though. But it just goes to show, what you ingest.
Yeah, you are what you eat.
And the 3D imagery is
pretty cool. Really, they didn't have that
stop it.
when I was pregnant.
No.
Did you get 3D?
Yeah.
That man has been on that show since I was like 7 years old.
Al Roker. He's
the guy all the way over here.
Yeah, it's Al Roker.
I mean, wow. He ain't playing. He didn't play that show out, boy. He didn't found him a home. Yes. Okay.
Those were babies.
I know. And I like that she called them babies in the womb. And
they were smiling.
Because they're human people. And not just, the clump of cells. Like, there's this one woman during, it was some Roe March when everything went down with Roe v. Wade. And she was pregnant. And she was holding a sign, pointing down to her belly and saying, "Not a human yet." And I was like, you are special. You special for real. But
I just watched that and I'm like, I don't know how you can be more tone deaf in that clip. I mean, it's like,
oh, you can be more tone deaf. Yes, you can.
Do they not see that they're calling them babies? And so if they can possibly understand and taste the difference between vegetables, don't you think they could
feel pain?
Feel their limbs being torn apart? I mean, have they not connected these dots? Okay. My mind was. So then simultaneously in the news this week, we had the brain trust of Stacey Abrams. I think she's running for governor of Georgia.
It's only a baby when it's convenient for the story. Gwenda got it right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes.
So in other news,
I think she's not still running. I thought she lost.
She's running for something. She's everywhere. She's in every black church in the South. Okay, roll the clip.
There is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her.
All right, play it again, because it was so fast. The wisdoms. Let's hear the wisdoms.
There is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her.
Shut up.
There's so I don't, that's not, it's a manufactured sound. I saw all kind of OBGYNs on Twitter this week. Like, I was today years old when I learned that that's not a baby's heartbeat.
You know, what is so sad is her level of influence. And then you just have those.
All those other people on the stage were nodding.
Oh, you know. And never mind.
Petty Mo.
Yeah. Oh, Eric is in the chat. Hey, Eric. Co-rate conversation.
Oh, yeah, good.
People will just, I don't know if it's for the spotlight. I don't know if they want to be liked. I don't want to be liked that much. I could care less. You like me, don't you don't. Like, it's just we just gonna nod. We just gonna sit here and nod. Don't ever sit here and just nod for me when I'm telling the devil's lie. Don't ever, because I will never just nod for you. Girl, if we got a difference of opinion, forget about facts and scientific facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole they just nodding. Her level of influence that just goes out. She's always in churches.
She's in like speaking, so many black churches on this platform.
But what she's speaking and what she's spewing out is so antithetical to the gospel. It's antithetical to the scriptures, the entire canon. Like, I'm just like... Y'all, I don't know what we're doing, but yes, there is no heartbeat is a manufactured sound. I've never been pregnant.
For the oppression, so men can oppress women.
I don't know how they manufacture the kicks. That was my question.
Well, I think Bob's got an article to that effect. He's going to help us here.
Yes, Elaine, she did say she knows her Bible. I want to say she might be a PK.
8 ways besides heartbeats that women are tricked into thinking babies are alive. These are from our friends over at the Babylon Bee. Baby pictures. Mm-hmm. This is an obvious ploy to maintain the nefarious lie that all humans started off as babies. Morning sickness. Another brilliant construct of the patriarchy. Ultrasound videos. The Today Show. Being duped.
Weight gain.
A cabal of men secretly put extra calories into women's food for 9 months.
That's funny.
Genetic testing. Genetics is a complete fraud developed to subjugate women by making them think babies have their own unique DNA.
Yeah, this is a mess.
Feeling the baby move. It's nothing more than the Taco Bell you ate for lunch.
Ew.
The crying sound when the baby is born. That's just the nurse weeping because of how ugly the little blob of cells is.
That's so sad. You know, I don't really know. I don't know where we go from here. We're
going into like 2 different versions of reality. You know, I never thought I would really see postmodernism play out quite this way. When I was in my 20s and learning about it, I thought, that'll never happen. People won't deny physical reality.
Yeah.
Now here I'm in my 50s. It's like, oh, here we are.
But I mean, can you imagine wanting, like having an agenda, like you're so connected to this agenda that you will deny like the reality and then you will encourage other people to deny reality? And you do it in the name of Jesus?
I can't.
Because she, like, when she was in that church, I watched her a couple weeks ago in a church, and she was like, I know my Bible. And, you know.
The other day, Jesus she was comparing herself to Deborah in the book of Judges. Abrams.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, you know what? I think we have now reached that point in the show.
Somebody on YouTube, the googly-eyed teacher says, Deborah in heaven. Leave me out of this.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh, yeah. She's in churches all the time. Okay.
But I mean, I don't know that I think she's doing what she needs to do, you know, for herself.
Is that Christian nationalism?
My problem is with the pastors who opened the door and let her in. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, go to Woke Preacher Clips. He's got a lot of Stacey Abrams clips.
That's a mess.
Okay. All right. Volunteer positions in our final Help Wanted. And if you want to help us with any of these things, go fill out our volunteer application on our website. So one of the things we could always use is more chat box moderators to help in this live stream.
Yes.
We need 1 or 2 more. So once a month commitment.
Probably 3 more.
According to Allison, we only need 1 or 2 more.
According to Mo, it's 3. I'm just here, folks.
You have nothing to do with it.
I'm just here.
It's not your stream.
Just here. Well, it's half mine.
No, it's not your lane.
Oh, not my lane.
This is the lane that
That's
I
true.
supervise.
That's not my lane. Not my lane.
Anyways, go. It's only a once a month commitment, and if you enjoy these kind of conversations and apologetics, you see what Elaine's doing on the stream right now, and apply. Mo's the CEO.
That is true.
Yeah, as
not
Kevin,
of all the things.
as Kevin says, it's just Mo's world. We're all just playing along.
Not true.
Yeah, very true.
Not true.
She bossy.
If you're here anyway.
Yeah, if you're here anyways. That's how Elaine got recruited. We're like, oh, Elaine's on there a lot. Let's see if she wants to be a moderator. So that's one big need if you want to help us with that.
The next one is
Facebook groups. We have 3 Facebook groups. We're
building a 4th one.
We're building a 4th one for homeschoolers. So we're taking applications right now if you're a homeschool parent and would like to support other parents to be able to look into homeschooling, support, pray for them, cheer them on, help them know if they're getting into it for the first time, they can do it. We're starting a support group for people connected to CFBU. So go apply to be a moderator for our Facebook group.
Yes. We also, our other 3 Facebook groups are the bi-ethnic families, the parents of children who have deconstructed or gone woke, and then our educators group.
I don't know what that was for.
I wasn't looking in the right camera.
Oh.
I was just over here talking to nobody.
Bob's arm was going in the air. I didn't know what that was for. Okay. Another need that we have is, and I'm just going to put this out there, and we'll see if anyone steps up. But we would really like to put together an app in 2023 that would be able to have one handy place for people to access our content so that we don't have to be quite so dependent on social media in case something happens to our social media. So if you know about the basics of app building, not necessarily knowing the coding, because we can get kind of a drag and drop type of platform, but you would be able to know how to put an app together. And I just don't have time to do it. I played around with it. I signed up for an account with the service. The service looks good. It's used by a friend of ours for his church. It looks robust enough for what we need. I just don't have time to sit there and put this whole thing together and figure out how it all works. So if you have experience with app building, again, it's not a big complicated app that we want to do, but we want to get people our feeds for our blog and our podcasts and some basics, getting them connected. Go fill out the application to be a volunteer.
Yes.
We could really use some help in that area.
And the last one is a writer to help with our newsletter. Yes, we just need 1 person, but I mean, if 2 people applied, that'd be awesome and amazing. But yeah, someone to help with. We have a quarterly newsletter that we send out to all of our monthly partners, and so it's help with getting articles together, interviewing people that we might highlight in our newsletter, writing stories for us, and doing all of the newsletter type things.
Yeah, and Tramaris, I'm not sure if Tiana, I'm not sure if you're asking if you're brand new to homeschooling, can you apply to be a moderator? Sure. Go apply. Or if you're saying, what if you're brand new to homeschooling, can you join the group? Definitely, that's who it's for. So hopefully that clears that up. So go to our volunteers page on the website. You can see other positions that we're looking for help in. But those are some urgent needs that we have in moving into 2023 to help us meet our goals.
The googly-eyed teacher says, love homeschooling. That could just be something you apply for then. You know, share the love, share the wisdom.
That's right. So thank you for all of your support. And, you know, we are heading into the year end. We've got a very exciting project in the works, and we can't tell you about it yet.
Yeah.
But trust me,
it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And so pray for us, pray for provision, you know, with resourcing and people and research help and all that stuff. But please be praying for us. Pray for wisdom. Pray for provision, that the Lord will meet all of our needs, and that we'll have wisdom about some big decisions.
Yeah. If you ever want to pray, just pray for us. And you don't know what to pray for wisdom. That's always my prayer request. I'm not going to speak for Krista, but mine is always wisdom. I always want to know, Lord, like in wisdom, how should I make this decision? So yes, that would be great. And we do want to remind you that not next week, but starting the week following, we will be in, we'll start showing rewind shows or reruns, just older shows that we think would be helpful, especially in our current cultural climate, and let that be a support to you as well. And then once those end right around Thanksgiving time, we'll be dark completely, and we will come back at the beginning of the new year and start season 5.
Yeah, hard to imagine. So Seth is asking, I think this is a question for Bob. When you upload the episodes, it says uploaded on Friday when it is on Saturday. Do you notice that when it's uploading? I think he's talking about the podcast, because I have noticed that. And when I do notice it, I always have to go in there and manually change the date. But there's something about our podcast service that always uploads it. It always puts it on the previous day. If I do notice it, I change it manually. But I think, uploading on Spotify. Yeah, that's the audio podcast. I've noticed that. I don't know why our podcast service defaults to the previous day. Sometimes I correct it, but it's just one of those things. So, all right.
Kim, I think that comment is hilarious. Yes, she prayed, God, give them Stacey Abrams' portion of wisdom. She isn't using it. That's hilarious. All right, you guys, we are out. We will see you again here and there.
Yes.
But we'll be back officially
Watch us in the family meetings, Off Code. Theology Mom podcasts are still coming through the end of the year.
Yeah.
I've pre-recorded some stuff. We'll still be active. You'll still see us. But be praying for us. Okay.
God bless you.
Good night.
There's nothing